The gathering storm commander, Thale Vorton, stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominance, watching the blue marble of Earth grow larger through the massive viewing ports. Behind him stretched the greatest armada the Zephyrian Empire had ever assembled. 3,500 warships filled the void of space, their crystalline hulls catching the light of Sol and reflecting it back in brilliant flashes of purple and gold. Magnificent Admiral Kess Valdron said, approaching from the tactical station. Her 6 arms moved gracefully as she gestured toward the display showing their fleet formation. The 3rd, 5th, and 7th battle groups combined, every ship equipped with quantum disruptors and void cannons. This primitive world doesn't stand a chance. Thale nodded, his 4 eyes scanning the tactical readouts. The Zephyrians had spent 2 full cycles planning this invasion. Earth was the key to human expansion in this sector, and eliminating it would crush human spirit across their scattered colonies. More importantly, it would send a clear message to the other species in the galaxy that the Zephyrian Empire was not to be challenged. "Status report," Thale commanded, his voice echoing through the bridge's crystal acoustic chambers. "Science officer." Nex Corridon consulted his instruments, his tentacles dancing across the bioneural interfaces. "All ships report ready for combat. Commander, weapon systems are charged, shields are at maximum, and troop transports are prepared for planetary assault. Our scout ships have completed their reconnaissance of the system." "And what did they find?" Admiral Valdron asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer would be disappointing. "Exactly what our intelligence predicted," Nex replied. "No orbital defense platforms, no battle stations. Their space infrastructure consists of a few primitive space stations and some mining operations in the asteroid belt. We detected maybe 3 dozen of their crude warships scattered throughout the system, mostly near their outer colonies." Thale allowed himself a predatory smile. The humans had been expanding aggressively for the past 50 years, establishing colonies on dozens of worlds and challenging Zephyrian territorial claims. Their diplomats spoke boldly of human rights and freedom, but they backed their words with nothing more than primitive fusion weapons and crude faster-than-light drives. "What about their planetary defenses?" Admiral Valdron inquired. "Minimal," Nex responded. "Some surface-to-orbit missile batteries, a few energy weapons installations. Nothing that our shields can't handle. Their most advanced technology appears to be nuclear fusion reactors and basic particle beam weapons. We're talking about a civilization that's maybe 2 centuries behind us technologically." Communications officer Yura Nethys looked up from her station. "Commander, we're receiving multiple transmissions from Earth. Emergency broadcasts on all frequencies. It appears they've detected our approach and are attempting to coordinate their defenses." "Let's hear what these humans have to say," Thale ordered. "Put their transmissions on the main speakers." The bridge filled with the panicked chatter of human military communications. Fragments of conversations in various human languages painted a picture of a species in complete disarray. "Fleet Command, this is Lunar Base. We're tracking over 3,000 unknown contacts approaching from the outer system. All units, this is Earth's Defense Command. Code Black is now in effect. Repeat, Code Black. God help us, there are so many of them." Admiral Valdron laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in a storm. "Listen to them. They're terrified before we've even fired a shot. This will be over before it begins." But as the hours passed and the Zephyrian fleet drew closer to Earth, strange readings began appearing on their sensors. Science Officer Nex was the first to notice the anomalies. "Commander," he called out, his voice troubled. I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from the human installations. What kind of energy signatures? Thale asked, moving to examine Nex's displays. That's just it, sir. I can't identify them. The readings are unlike anything in our databases. The power outputs are substantial, much higher than what their primitive fusion reactors should be capable of producing. Admiral Valdrin frowned, her 6 arms crossing in a gesture of concern. Could they have discovered some new energy source? An ancient artifact, perhaps? Possibly, Nex replied, running additional scans. But there's more. Those mining operations in the asteroid belt. They're generating enormous amounts of energy, far more than any mining operation should require. And the quantum resonance patterns are strange. Thale studied the displays, his tactical experience setting off warning bells in his mind. Something wasn't right. The humans were acting too calm for a species facing extinction. Their military communications had shifted from panic to what sounded almost like preparation. Expand our scans, Thale ordered. I want detailed analysis of every human installation in this system. Something doesn't add up here. The next several hours brought increasingly disturbing revelations. The human space stations weren't just primitive orbital platforms. They were generating energy fields that interfered with Zephyrian sensors in ways that shouldn't be possible with human technology. The mining operations in the asteroid belt were producing exotic matter signatures that suggested technology far beyond anything the Zephyrians had attributed to humanity. Commander, Nex called out, his voice tight with confusion. You need to see this. I've been analyzing the composition of those asteroids the humans are mining. They're not asteroids at all. What do you mean? Thale demanded. The density readings are all wrong. The material composition suggests they're artificial constructs, hollow structures disguised to look like asteroids from a distance, and the power sources inside them. Nex paused, checking his readings again. Sir, some of these installations are generating more power than our own battleships. Admiral Valdrin moved to her own sensor station, running independent scans. This can't be right. Our intelligence reports clearly state that human technology is centuries behind ours. They fight with projectile weapons and crude missiles. That's what our reports say, Thale agreed grimly. But our sensors are telling a different story. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Begin detailed scanning of all human installations. I want to know what we're really dealing with here. The results that came back over the next 2 hours shattered every assumption the Zephyrians had made about humanity. The primitive human space stations were equipped with energy shielding technology that rivaled Zephyrian designs. The mining operations in the asteroid belt weren't mining operations at all, but massive military installations hidden inside artificial asteroid shells. Most disturbing of all, the energy readings from Earth's moon suggested the presence of weapons systems that could threaten even Zephorian capital ships. How is this possible? Admiral Valdrin asked, staring at the tactical displays in disbelief. Our intelligence networks have been monitoring human development for decades. How could they have developed such advanced technology without our knowledge? Communications Officer Yira suddenly straightened at her station. Commander, I'm receiving a transmission from Earth. It's coming through on our own secure command frequencies. Thale felt ice form in his veins. The Zephyrians used quantum-encrypted communication systems that were theoretically impossible to intercept or decode. No species in the galaxy had ever successfully penetrated their command networks. Put it through, he ordered, his voice steady despite his growing unease. The main display flickered and showed the face of a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. She looked remarkably calm for someone whose world was about to be destroyed. "Commander Thale Vaughton of the Zephyrian Third Fleet," the human said, her voice clear and confident. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Space Defense Force. We need to talk." The silence on the bridge was absolute. Every Zephyrian officer stared at the display in shock. Not only had this human accessed their secure communications, but she knew Thale's name and rank, information that should have been impossible for her to obtain. "How did you access our communication system?" Thale asked, his voice barely controlled. Captain Chen smiled, and there was something unsettling about her expression. "Commander, I think you're beginning to realize that your intelligence about human capabilities might have been somewhat incomplete. We've been monitoring your fleet since you entered our outer system 3 days ago. We've been monitoring your Empire's activities for considerably longer than that." Admiral Valdrin leaned forward. "Impossible. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours. Our intelligence reports clearly show that humans are a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel." "Your intelligence reports," Captain Chen replied calmly, "show exactly what we wanted them to show. Tell me, Admiral, when was the last time your scouts actually set foot on a human world? When was the last time your intelligence operatives examined human technology firsthand, rather than relying on long-range scans and intercepted communications?" The question hung in the air like a weapon. Thale realized with growing horror that all of their intelligence on human capabilities came from remote observation and captured transmissions. The Zephyrian Empire's arrogance had prevented them from conducting more thorough intelligence gathering. They had assumed that any species with such primitive apparent technology wasn't worth detailed study. "You see," Captain Chen continued, "we learned about the Zephyrian Empire long before you learned about us. We've had plenty of time to study your technology, your tactics, and your psychology. We knew you would eventually come for Earth. So, we prepared." "Prepared how?" Thale asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Commander, you're currently surrounded by approximately 800 human dreadnoughts. They've been cloaked and positioned throughout this system for the past 6 months. Your fleet entered our trap the moment you crossed the heliopause." Science Officer Nex frantically worked his sensors, scanning the space around the "Fleet Commander, I'm not detecting any ships. Space appears clear in all directions." Captain Chun's smile widened. "Of course, you can't detect them. We've been studying Zephyrian sensor technology for years. We know exactly how to hide from your scans. But if you'd like a demonstration..." Suddenly, the space around the Zephyrian fleet shimmered like a heat mirage. Massive human warships materialized from nowhere, their weapons trained on the alien vessels. They appeared between the Zephyrian formations, above them, below them, surrounding them in a sphere of deadly firepower. The human ships were unlike anything in Zephyrian databases, sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. 837 dreadnoughts, Captain Chen announced calmly, each one equipped with weapons systems that your shields won't stop and powered by reactors that make your fusion cores look like campfires. "You came here to conquer Earth, Commander. Instead, you've delivered your entire fleet into our hands." The magnitude of their situation crashed down on Thale like a collapsing star. The Zephyrian Empire's greatest armada was trapped, surrounded by an enemy they had underestimated so completely it bordered on the absurd. Worse yet, they had no idea what other surprises humanity might have prepared. "What do you want?" Thale asked, his pride warring with his tactical sense. "For now," Captain Chen replied, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because the next few minutes will determine whether your fleet returns home or becomes space debris. The human gambit captain, Sarah Chen, stood in the command center of the TSF Indomitable, humanity's most advanced warship, watching the Zephyrian fleet struggle with the reality of their situation. Through quantum-encrypted channels, she could monitor their communications as panic spread through their command structure. It had taken humanity decades to reach this moment, and she intended to make every second count. Status report, Sarah requested from her tactical officer. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Rodriguez checked his displays. All dreadnoughts are in position, and maintaining cloak integrity. The Zephyrian fleet is completely surrounded. Their shields are up, but they haven't powered weapons yet. I think they're still processing what just happened. Sarah nodded. The psychological impact was crucial. Humanity had learned long ago that the Zephyrian Empire responded to displays of overwhelming force more readily than to diplomatic overtures. By revealing their true capabilities in such a dramatic fashion, they had shifted the entire dynamic of the encounter. Communications, are we still connected to their command ship? Sarah asked. Yes, Captain, Communications Officer Diana Walsh replied. Commander Vorton appears to be consulting with his staff. They're running every scan they can think of, trying to understand our technology. Through the quantum link, Sarah could see the chaos on the Zephyrian bridge. Their commander, Thale Vorton, was a competent officer by all accounts. But he had walked into a situation that challenged everything he thought he knew about warfare in this sector of the galaxy. Commander Vorton, Sarah said, re-establishing the connection. I hope you're taking this opportunity to reassess your strategic position. Tal's image appeared on her screen, his alien features tense with barely controlled frustration. Captain Chen, your stealth technology is impressive, but you're still outnumbered more than 4-1. Even with the element of surprise, do you really believe you can defeat the combined might of 3 Zephyrian battle groups? Sarah smiled, and she saw several of the alien officers on the bridge flinch at her expression. Commander, you're still thinking in terms of conventional warfare. Let me show you something that might help clarify the situation. She gestured to Marcus, who activated one of humanity's most closely guarded secrets. Throughout the solar system, installations that the Zephyrians had dismissed as mining operations began to power up. The artificial asteroids in the belt split, open like massive flowers, revealing weapons platforms the size of small moons. The structures on the far side of Earth's moon folded back, exposing cannon arrays that could shatter planets. What you're seeing, Sarah explained calmly, is the result of 50 years of preparation. When humanity first detected signs of the Zephyrian Empire, we realized that conventional military development wouldn't be sufficient to ensure our survival. So we took a different approach. The tactical displays on the Zephyrian ships were lighting up with threat indicators as more and more human installations revealed themselves. Energy readings spiked to levels that made the alien officers question their instruments. Admiral Valdrin's voice came through the communication link, tight with disbelief. This is impossible. The energy requirements for weapons of this magnitude would require antimatter reactors or controlled singularities. Human technology couldn't possibly human technology as you understand it, Sarah interrupted. But you've made the same mistake that dozens of other species have made over the centuries. You've underestimated our adaptability. When we realized we were outgunned, we didn't just build bigger guns. We reimagined the entire concept of warfare. Science Officer Nex appeared on the screen, his tentacles writhing with agitation. Commander, The energy signatures I'm reading from those installations, some of them are manipulating space-time itself. Localized gravitational fields, dimensional folding, quantum tunneling effects. This technology is beyond anything in our databases. Sarah nodded approvingly. Very good, Officer Nex. You're beginning to understand. Humanity didn't just advance our technology. We revolutionized our approach to physics itself. When you've been forced to innovate or die, you tend to think outside conventional parameters. The truth was even more extraordinary than what she was revealing. Humanity had indeed been studying Zephyrian technology for years, but not through espionage or captured equipment. They had been monitoring Zephyrian communications and analyzing their energy signatures from across the galaxy, using that information to reverse engineer and then surpass alien technologies. The installations you're seeing represent just the fixed defenses, Sarah continued. Our mobile fleet incorporates technologies that your sensors can't even detect properly. Dimensional folding drives, quantum tunneling weapons, gravitational manipulation systems. We've moved beyond the limitations of conventional three-dimensional warfare. To demonstrate her point, Sarah ordered a tactical display of the human fleet positions. The Zephyrians watched in growing horror as the tactical plot revealed that the human ships weren't just surrounding them in normal space. They were positioned in multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating a web of firepower that existed in realms of physics the Zephyrians barely understood. This is why your initial scans couldn't detect us, Sarah explained. We weren't hiding in your three-dimensional space. We were operating in parallel dimensions, watching and waiting. Commander Vorton studied the tactical displays, his alien features pale with the realization of just how completely outmaneuvered his fleet had become. Captain Chen, what are your terms? I'm glad you asked, Sarah replied. First, your fleet will power down all weapons and submit to inspection by human technical teams. Second, you will provide us with complete intelligence on Zephyrian military capabilities and strategic plans for this sector. Third, you will carry a message back to your empire. What message? Admiral Valdrin asked, her 6 arms crossed in a gesture of resignation. That humanity is not interested in conquest or expansion into Zephyrian space. We're not interested in destroying your empire or enslaving your people, but we will not tolerate further aggression against human colonies or our allies. The galaxy is large enough for multiple species to coexist peacefully, but only if that coexistence is based on mutual respect rather than predatory behavior. Thale was quiet for several long moments, processing the implications of humanity's offer. The Zephyrian Empire had built its expansion on the assumption that other species would either submit or be destroyed. The concept of voluntary coexistence, backed by overwhelming force, was foreign to their thinking. And if we refuse your terms? Thale asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Sarah's expression hardened. Then you will discover exactly how advanced human weapons technology has become. Your ships will be disabled and your crews captured. Your empire will receive no intelligence about what happened here, and they'll send more fleets to investigate. Each one will face the same choice: cooperation or destruction. The silence on the Zephyrian command bridge stretched for nearly a minute. Sarah could see the alien officers exchanging glances, running calculations, and coming to the inevitable conclusion that resistance was futile. There is one more thing you should understand, Sarah added. This demonstration represents only a fraction of humanity's true capabilities. The installations you've seen, the ships surrounding your fleet, the technologies we've revealed today are our defensive systems. You haven't seen what we've prepared for offensive operations." That statement sent a chill through the Zephyrian command structure that Sarah could feel even across the quantum communication link. The implication was clear. If humanity could build defenses this advanced, their offensive capabilities would be proportionally devastating. "We accept your terms," Commander Vorton said finally. "But I must ask why reveal all of this now? You could have remained hidden, allowed us to believe you were primitive. Why show your hand?" Sarah smiled, and this time there was genuine warmth in her expression. "Because hiding and deception are temporary solutions. Eventually, the truth comes out. We chose to reveal ourselves now, under circumstances we could control, rather than wait for a situation where we might be forced to use these weapons in anger. This way, we establish the new balance of power without unnecessary bloodshed." The next several hours proceeded with remarkable efficiency. Zephyrian weapons systems powered down across the fleet. Human technical teams teleported aboard the alien ships using dimensional folding technology, conducting inspections that revealed the full extent of humanity's understanding of Zephyrian capabilities. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez approached Sarah as the process neared completion. "Captain, the Zephyrians are asking about our dimensional folding technology. They want to understand how we achieved it. Tell them it's based on principles they'll understand in about 200 years, Sarah replied. "Or sooner, if they choose to pursue peaceful scientific exchange rather than military expansion." As the Zephyrian fleet prepared to depart, carrying humanity's message back to their empire, Sarah reflected on the broader implications of the day's events. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was no longer the primitive species that could be easily conquered or intimidated. Captain Diana Walsh called from the communications station. "We're receiving transmissions from other human colonies throughout the sector. They've detected the energy signatures from our weapons demonstrations. They want to know if they should prepare for retaliation." "Tell them to maintain standard defensive postures," Sarah replied. "The Zephyrians won't be back with hostile intent, but monitor their communications and fleet movements. If they decide to test our resolve elsewhere, we need to be ready to remind them of today's lesson." The last of the Zephyrian ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, carrying with them the knowledge that the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy had shifted permanently. Humanity had revealed itself not as conquerors seeking to replace the Zephyrian Empire, but as a force for stability that would enforce peace through strength. Sarah remained on the bridge as the human fleet began to cloak and disperse back to their hidden positions throughout the solar system. The weapons platforms folded back into their asteroid disguises, and the installations on Luna's far side returned to their camouflaged configurations. "Another successful diplomatic mission," Marcus observed with a grin. "Let's hope it's the last one we need for a while," Sarah replied. "But knowing the galaxy's history, I doubt we'll be so fortunate." As Earth's sun set behind the blue marble of humanity's homeworld, the human fleet settled back into watchful vigilance, ready to defend their corner of the galaxy against any threat, while hoping that wisdom and restraint would prevail over aggression and conquest. The message was clear. Humanity had evolved beyond being prey, and the galaxy would need to adapt to this new reality.